And we're live. I think this is number, I'm losing count. It's been so many now, but 5 or 6 weeks in a row. I can't believe it's already flying by. So that's good. We just finished up our second event of the year, Truman Lake, Missouri, and the weather was not good for us. As we'll bring in Joe Lunsford, Coyote Joe, that won this past weekend. We had 25 teams. Like I said, it was brutal conditions, but you have that sometimes. That's why it's fishing. So we're going to get into a lot of things tonight, talk about our national championship, talk about Truman, talk about Fort Madison coming up. We got a lot of things. Really quick, I just wanted to thank the sponsors again. Thank Clinton Tourism, Tawny with Bucksaw Resort and Marina, Tom and Shauna Stoles with the photography, Brandon Martin with Daybreak Media doing the video that I think we're going to have tomorrow morning, the video of the event. My mom, dad, Liz. Thanks to the anglers that could brave it out during those crazy conditions. Big thanks to Mid-Kansas Marine that gave $250 for the random Sierra drawing. Yeah, and it was a total payout of $8,000, 106% payout for 25 teams. And again, just last week, we announced our $35,000 non-entry fee championship. So really excited about that at Lake Ouachita. So real quick, that's about all I got to kind of get this going. Let's bring in Joe and Seth, and let's get the party started. All right. Can you guys hear me good? Everybody on?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. What's going on?
All right. So, yeah, I was just saying that I think this is like the 6th show in a row, and we just keep knocking those Mondays out. We just talked about, I was just thanking everybody from this past weekend, Clinton Tourism, Tawny with Bucksaw Resort and Marina. That was my first time at Bucksaw, and everything was great, obviously besides the weather. But, you know, the weigh-in, the atmosphere, the food, the hotel, all that was like a perfect setup for a tournament. You know, so going there for me blind, usually I go to an event before and kind of know how the setup's going to be, but everything was really awesome. The food was good. Obviously for you, the fishing was good besides on, you know, pre-fishing day, but also Tom and Shauna Stoles, Brandon Martin with Daybreak, everybody that helped, because it took a lot of help to get things going that weekend or this past weekend with the weather. So let's start with pre-fishing Truman Lake. Obviously, I had you on last weekend or last Monday night, and we joked about, well, we'll have you on next Monday. And here you are. You won the tournament, and now you're back on live.
Yeah, I did. I definitely didn't. Even when I was in that last podcast, I was like, you know, someone's going to catch that 100-pound mark, and I was like, it's not going to be me, fellas. So I hope you all the best. And I can't believe the way it turned out. I really can't.
So what day did you get down there?
So we went down Wednesday. We got down and finally got bait about 4 o'clock or so, 3:30, 4 o'clock. The bait wasn't in the marina. It wasn't anywhere close. Like it was hard to be found. So we went looking for bait all day, finally found bait. And then we're like, all right, well, we have very little bait. Let's go. I hit up my buddy Jason, my other tournament partner. I was like, hey, I need you to bring me some bait from Lake of the Ozarks and meet me and have Mexican food. So, you know, we met up that night. He brought me a cooler full of bait and we went and had Mexican food, and then we went back out. Me and Pops, we got back before it was dark and was like, man, we still got an hour and a half or so to kill. Why not? Let's go across from the hotel and just see if we catch any fish. So we're like, all right, you know, we pulled into some trees and a little flat right there across from the hotel, and we caught a little 10-pound fish. We're like, all right, well, maybe that's a good place to start tournament morning since we ain't got headlights. I'll let you go a little bit from there, but
Up on your boat, Joe, and you don't have headlights?
I have no headlights.
Come on.
No, it is illegal. No, I'm just kidding. But it is illegal, but I do want to get some put on there.
Oh yeah,
it is. But I don't know. I love lights because I do a lot of night fishing, but you don't want to blind somebody else. But a lot of the times, when us catfish anglers are out on the water at night, there's not a lot of other anglers out there. So I'll turn mine on and off, at least help out, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. There's lots of trees out there.
Oh yeah.
Everybody was saying that. Like I said, Jeff Falkenberry showed up when I was setting up during the day and kind of talked about the trees and a little bit of history on the lake, and pretty interesting. But it is kind of, after this weekend, it's definitely, to me, a fishing lake, not a pleasure boat lake. You know what I mean? There's a lot of, but I think you took a guided trip the next day for crappie.
I did. And
now it's incredible, right?
Yeah. So I hit up. I met up with Peyton Jackson, I think is his last name, and his dad that day before. And I saw all the crappie they brought in. And I'm talking, they were slabs, not just little crappie, but like football shoulder slabs. Like, all right, now I need to check this out. And I want to check out a live scope anyway. So I booked a trip with him and went out and had some fun. And we straight up killed the crappie the next day. And Pops, it was his first tournament ever. He'd only been fishing with me for probably the past 6 months or so. And he didn't even care to catch any of the crappie. He was kicked back and like, I'm just hanging out and chilling for right now. We had been in 30-mile-an-hour winds and like the coldest weather, probably the harshest weather tournament we've ever been in. It was brutal. We was trying to cast poles and had to shake them like this to get the ice to break off so that we could cast our poles.
Yeah, you're not kidding. It was brutal is an understatement for that tournament. I didn't know. Nothing in getting, set up while you guys were out there. The extension cords wouldn't uncoil. It was just brutal. I was warming the scale up and my computer up in my truck, leaving my truck running all day. Like nothing would work. Nothing wanted to work. And the 30-mile-an-hour gust. And then Brandon, that was there doing video, he flew his drone. He got an awesome drone footage in the morning. Left his drone in the truck for the next couple hours and went out and he flew it again, I think over your boat. And shortly after that, it went in the water, like battery malfunction with the water. So he lost all that footage, which is, stuff happens, but it was some good footage. But it was just brutal conditions. And I've fished a lot of tournaments, put on a lot of tournaments, and that's by far the worst weather I've ever had to do that in.
It really was. And coming from Alton, which was an extremely, not saying nothing, but it was an extremely horrible tournament with the water rise and stuff, and come up with a big fat 0 to go into first place the next weekend at Truman. That was a pretty big uplifting. It was awesome.
Because then when I talked to you Friday night, you had I think at one point you said, we're done. I think you were just wanting to just hang out at the hotel and just be done with it because you had messed your talent up. Did you catch any fish or have any? It was just a rough Friday.
Yeah. So, we did a bunch of jumping around and trying to go up to different spots and stuff to, get to where the good fish were supposed to be at. And the water conditions just weren't having it. It was just not a tournament where you could travel very far and be productive. To me, that's what it seemed like to me. So come tournament day, it was more about just fun fishing and whatever happens, happens. That morning started off with Pops, who had never been, in a tournament before or anything, like a kid in a candy store, waking up at 3 a.m. and like, hey, get up. Where are we fishing at today? Which direction we heading? I'm like, Pops, slow down, dude. Breakfast ain't even served till 5:30. Let me sleep a little bit more and we'll just figure this out. And once I finally got my ass up, or my butt up, I'm sorry. Once I got my butt up and was like, it's not going to be daylight till 7:15. We need to have poles in the water at 7. I said, let's just go right across the way where we had caught those small catfish and just let's go over and catch our 3 unders real quick. And then we'll move on to something else whenever we can see. And by 8 o'clock, we done had that 52 and everything else. It was crazy the way it worked out.
Yeah, I remember you sent me that picture early. I was like, oh man, that's going to be a good start of the day.
Yeah, that was. I did not expect that at all.
I think I picked a good one for my first tournament. Yeah, no, it was, like I said, it's, that's 25 teams. I didn't know that we would, I thought maybe some people would want to back out with the weather and, have some malfunctions on, I think somebody had some issues with their steering and, Rusty and Bob, actually, they had their steering broke they had to use the trolling motor to get back to the ramp.
I could have trolling motored to my spot.
I know. I watched you fish all day as I was out there setting up.
Yeah, that was crazy.
You just stay on that same spot all day, Joe?
The same, yeah. Once I had caught, that small one, then we had caught a slot, and then we caught the 52. I bet people could hear us from probably 3 miles away in the boat, jumping around and like going crazy and stuff. Like, holy crap, for 52 pounds for Truman Lake, that's a good fish. That's a fish up here in Alton that for me is like an 80-pound fish. It's a once in a lifetime, fish to catch on that body of water.
Right.
And it was just, it was amazing. And everything just, it just fell right into place. And by 8 o'clock, we had 3 of our fish. And I was like, dude, there's no sense of moving from here. We can just sit here all day and finish out fishing. And I think we're going to finish within the top 5. So we didn't move all day. We moved probably 50 yards, 100 yards or so, in either direction or whatnot. But both of the big fish come out of about a 3-foot flat. It was awesome.
So I know a lot of times when we go into a tournament, you have a number in. I need to catch this, to cash a check. When you reeled that 52 in, did you kind of know, all right, we're taking some money home today?
No, I still had no expectations at that point. I still thought, that there would be, a lot of those people that have been fishing that lake a long time. I know there's some big weights that can be turned in at that lake, and I really thought some of the locals, probably had my butt spanked.
Yeah.
But we just kept fishing and kept having fun, and it just, it paid off. It was, and actually that's the second time that doing something like that has paid off for me, which is crazy.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Definitely a lot of guys can go out and spend a lot of time pre-fishing and, things change and, especially with what we dealt with. Because what's it down there? It's beautiful today, I think, down there, isn't it? Almost 70?
Yeah, almost. Well, still windy. I am so sick of the wind this year. But
I'll tell you what, our next event in Fort Madison, that place is, I mean, even our first tournament, we've had wind every tournament. So I know maybe because I'm still thawing out, like Wally said, but I'm ready for it to be 100 and no wind at all. I'm ready to sweat.
Fort Madison, always just insane weather. When you get a 20-mile-an-hour wind in Fort Madison, it gets Wheeler Lake. I mean, huge waves and really rough water conditions in certain places. And that's my home stretch. I'm about 3 miles from that stretch of river right now, so it gets pretty rough out there.
Yeah, Bill said it's 56 as we speak in Warsaw. So I wish it was 56 tournament day. And like I said, going back to the event itself, I am just the setup it's almost like they built that place for tournament fishing. Like you can roll in, they got a nice place to stay. They got a covered place to do your weigh-in at. They got a huge marina, and then the food is awesome there. So they got breakfast, lunch, dinner. Everything was just great. So hopefully we go back. We'll have to start, like I said, we're already working on 2024 schedule. Hopefully to put that one back on. I wanted to kind of do it and see how, obviously the conditions didn't help, but still for 25 boats, I think you took home $3,834.
Yeah.
So that's good.
That was a nice little payout, I mean, or not little, but a nice big payout, I mean, it was, for the 25 boats, I really didn't expect, to come out ahead like we did. What was crazy is I was sitting in there at the restaurant and they have the fishing report up right there on their little wall. And it said catfish. It said that it was good fishing from, I think it was 12 to 4 foot deep off a main channel. And that's why I looked at that point over there and I was even like, that little point over there might be pretty good. Let's just go over there and mess around. We went over there in the afternoon, caught one fish, had 4 or 5 good bites, and then went there tournament morning and ended up winning everything there. And it was pretty much because of what Bucksaw Marina had on their board right there of the fishing report. I looked, everybody else is in the creeks and everywhere else where the shallow water goes, and I know that has to be good fishing, but getting there with 30-mile-an-hour winds and 4-foot roller waves and everything else made conditions to where, I just didn't want to travel that far.
Yeah. No, I agree. I got this picture of you. Let's throw you up. I can do that. That's you pulling that big one out.
Yeah, it was a feisty fish. Them sea arc live wells.
I don't know if it's the cold water or weather, but they were pretty fired up. Look at that face you're making.
You guys always get the best facial expressions of me. I don't know how.
Which that's an awesome picture. That's a memory for a lifetime right there.
That really is. Me and Pops, that's the most amazing thing right there. I mean, I missed my partner Jason on that tournament because he's out doing his stuff with spoonbill and stuff. But to do that with my Pops and enjoy that memory for the rest of our lives, that right there meant everything.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's, like I said, that was cool, and he couldn't make it. We talked about that last Monday, and then Pop's coming and jumping on and having one of those. Yeah, I mean, that's something you're always going to talk about. You know what I mean? Absolutely. First place, the crappy weather, Truman Lake, and you got it done.
Is he addicted to turning cat fisherman into him? Or?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I got him on his first 48-pound catfish probably 3 months ago or so. Before that, it was all 20s and stuff. And, he got his first 48 and was like, the screens and the video of that on the Team Crazy Cats page is pretty amazing. And I'm telling you right now, tournament day, if you didn't hear us within a 3-mile range, then you probably had too much wind blowing in your ears because we was going nuts. That was the party boat right there. We were jumping up and down, high-fiving. Like Woo! Like, let's do this.
We'll probably be seeing more this year than I take it.
What's that?
We'll probably be seeing him some more on the tournament trail this year, I bet.
Yeah, I think you'll be seeing a little bit more Pops around.
Yeah, so Mike Pops is a great dude. It was a pleasure to meet him.
Yeah. Yeah, Pops is a lot of fun.
That's something I want to get my dad out with me one of these days. He's a bass fisherman. I don't know if I can get him away from that or not, but I'd love for him to fish a tournament with me. That'd be pretty cool.
Well, Pops is the same way. He's smallmouth fisherman and all that, does all the, little creeks and rivers and all that stuff. And, you take them out and you get them into something like that, and it's hard to beat them out of the boat after that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, no, I'm going with my buddies. You need to stay back.
Right.
I've seen that over the years, because we allow up to three anglers in a boat, and something happens and a partner has a wedding or has something to do, and, they'll throw another person in the boat, and then they have a good couple days, and then now that person is in and buying a boat or getting in. So, I mean, it's like I said, I did a radio show with a station out of St. Louis right at 5 tonight. And that's what I was talking about, is how the sport is growing. And once you get out there and catch a fish, especially like if you're back bouncing, like to me, I was hooked my first time catching a 50 anchor fishing. But when you go back bouncing and you catch that first fish, or you see a line, drag peel out like that, it just changes you. I don't know what it is, but how many people do you know that go out there and don't get hooked? I mean, they're just fired up, and that's why I think the sport's growing so fast. And it's exciting. It really is.
Yeah, that bumping definitely changed the industry of, the excitement. It wasn't no more of the sitting around and drinking beer by the campfire and throwing poles out on bank poles and waiting to see what you brought in that night. Now it's putting yourself into a mind frame of, hey, I got to be right on this and right on target, and, letting that stuff out perfectly, and, put a little science to it. And then, next thing you know, you're basically bass fishing for catfish, and the feeling of that catfish ripping that pole about out of your hands that's one of the best feelings ever. It's amazing.
I always think it's funny. I tell the story a little bit, but I remember as a kid, my step always sit down, shut up, do not make a noise, move an inch until the pole's bent completely over. Now I've got my stereo on 100 down the river going 3/4 of a mile an hour or 3 miles an hour sometimes. And yeah, they couldn't be any further from the truth, but
right
that way.
Especially, putting on tournaments and going to places and say, hey, I want to bring Twisted Cat Outdoors to this city. I'm going to put on an event, a catfishing. Like when I say catfishing, they're like, oh, okay. So, they think of, or, you get your shirt off, your,
right,
listen to music, party. It's nothing like that. And just like on the show tonight, when I did the radio show, I was telling them how there's a lot of different ways from years ago, that we're moving. The boat's moving, the line's moving, the bait's moving. And it's like I said, when you're walking bait on the rivers, that's work. Like that's not, you don't sit down. You don't have time to take a drink or be on your cell phone or nothing, because the second you're on your phone, you get hit and then you missed it.
Yep.
So it's like, you have to be all in. That's why sometimes I remember telling, I fished a tournament in Megabucks in Helena. And after like a long season of bumping, I'm like, I am so ready to go drag baits or anchor up on those areas, because it wears you out, because you can go to Alabama and drag bait and watch a season of Netflix on your iPad.
Right.
You're not going to watch Netflix when you're bumping.
No, you have no time to do anything at all. You ain't answering text messages. You're not talking to your buddies. You're not FaceTiming. You're not doing any of that stuff. You got to work. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun.
Oh man, there's no. Well,
Yeah, Sean said bumping is addicting. Only way I want to fish. Yeah, and that's a lot of people. That's why you have a lot of anglers now that travel, and that's what they want to do.
Yeah. But I still enjoy having my 6 poles out. I mean, two baits versus 6. I mean, of course you're moving backwards and all that stuff, but if you can lock onto the fish and see where they're sitting at and throw out 6 baits versus normally a team is 2. I have my times a year I like bumping better, and then after I'm wore out and everything, I like anchoring better. Like I just want to anchor fish for a little bit. I am done throwing this pole and holding on to this thing.
Yeah, that's it. Sean said we are more productive with hand rods, honestly, covering water, which, yeah, I agree. So, the next tournament, so obviously Alton, I would say, was an anchor bite. I would say Truman was an anchor bite. But now we're going to be going to Fort Madison. It's the water temps definitely warming up. We're supposed to have some really warm temps the next week or so. I haven't looked 2 weeks out, but I've heard some people talk that they do some dragging if there's not a lot of current. I wonder, Seth, from being in that pool, what do you think? You think some people will be still on that shallow water channel cat bite? Will they be deep water? What's your thoughts?
I was catching them the other day in like 14 foot on structure, and they were really slow to bite, but I was able to catch some fish. Some guys will probably be dragging. I don't know if it'll be productive or not, but I was just testing out some stuff, and I drug upriver there, and I was able to hit pretty good. There's not a lot of current right now, but the water's still pretty cold. It's like, I think last week it was 42 degrees, and then we've had this big cold spell here, so I'd say maybe 45-degree water temperature by April 1st, maybe. But we'll see. It never hurts to try. I mean, I love dragging. That's my favorite way to fish.
Yeah, you wouldn't think. Obviously, a lot of anglers that haven't been that far up, we kind of relate to Pool 19 as a lake. What they call it, a lake something? What?
Cooper is what they call it.
I don't know why that is.
Yeah, it is. A lot of times, I mean, there's not more than a mile an hour current anywhere, and there's a lot of dead water in that pool. So.
And it could be, so that pool is 47 miles dam to dam. And then the pool below, pool 20, I want to say is like 14, 15 miles dam to dam. They really shorten up.
Oh, yeah.
That's 47 miles for the pool is a lot. That's a huge pool.
And I believe it's Montrose. Somebody will correct me in here, but it's the widest point in the Mississippi River anywhere. So, I mean, that helps slow down current quite a bit. But, yeah, I'm pretty sure we're the widest point in the Mississippi.
Yeah. That's interesting. I gotta find that. I see. So Jake, that's a good question.
Yeah, that was a good question. Dang it. I did not. He was so busy. I did not get to corner him before everything was all said and done. Like the night went so fast and it was so crazy.
Yeah, but you had a rough Friday, and I remember I was gonna come up to you, or maybe I said something. I'm glad that we didn't make that bet because it was gonna be. I bet that you don't get 100 pounds. If you hit 100 or more, you win. I'm glad I didn't make that bet. The one time, I'm glad I did.
The one time, I probably wouldn't have made that bet either. I really did. I didn't figure there was any way. After 77 pounds at Alton, like there's no way 100 pounds is hitting Truman. I mean, that was crazy.
Now you got to say over.
Whatever, Wallace. Go on, Wallace.
Yeah, and then second place. 82.15, John Jameson, Kevin Park. So that's a good weight too. Third place, 66.94, and this is when it got tight. Fourth place, Aaron Henderson, James Bax, and Blake Press, 66.63. So just between third and fourth was just not much. And actually, when Aaron, James, and Blake weighed their fish, when I had it on the ruler, it puked up a full shad. I mean, like a 3-inch shad. Yeah. I was like, and then Bill, Ty, and Eric had 63.20. So we had 4 teams. We had 4 teams in the 60s, 66.94 from third to sixth place to 61.40. So that was some pretty good weights for Truman. That's some good weights overall. And then Joe Bell had 6th with 61.40, and he only weighed 4 fish.
Right.
So I was pretty impressed really with the overs.
Yeah, I really was too. We fished a tournament not too long ago down at Lake of the Ozarks. What was it? Big or Brown's Bend or whatever, Big Bend, whatever. Anyway, but we didn't do good because all we was catching was slots. I mean, that's the problem with Lake of the Ozarks and Truman is all the slots that you catch, you're like, man, if I could just weigh in these slots, I'd have such a good weight. And then them slots are the equalizer, and somehow we came out with 2 good fish, and I don't know. I don't know how.
Yeah, it's that tournament's always different when you when you got to measure. So I got to measure every fish, and there were some close ones. You had a pretty close under. There were some close overs, but some people could have rough days if you were just on the slot fish. But there was a big difference on the unders. Some anglers had really small unders. I mean, that just didn't have a lot of weight to them. But if you had kind of a bigger belly under, that was huge to you getting some more weight there. I mean, you talked about Joe Bell. I mean, Joe had 2 overs and 2 unders, and he caught some slot fish. So, imagine if he had one more decent under, he could have jumped up a couple spots easy. He could have been in that. He could have been in 3rd place. I mean, he was only just a little over 4 pounds away from 3rd, and only had 4 fish.
Yeah, that's crazy. The amount of it just shows you how good Truman Reservoir really is. Everybody had their doubts, and kind of like Lake of the Ozarks, you're going to catch a bunch of little ones and stuff. But the amount of big weights that was turned in off of Truman was really surprising to me. I mean, even out of that many boats, but with the weather conditions and everything, it was super surprising to have that good of a turnout. And it just shows you got to adapt to the conditions and have some fun and get out there.
For sure.
Yeah. And we weighed 20 boats. So, I mean, out of 25 teams, we weighed 20 teams.
Right. And I know a couple teams that just threw their small fish back and then decided not to weigh in, but.
Yeah, we were talking. I had Jed Osborne called me and talked about the championship stuff. And he's like, what does it take to get in? We got 3rd. So now he's talking about how to get it, get qualified. And that'll be kind of exciting how the points play out for that. What's your take on the championship? I mean, obviously you're going to definitely try now. I mean, you got a 1st place finish under your belt.
Well, so that was going to be one of my questions was last year, all the 1st place winners got into the championship, right?
Yeah, last year in 22.
So it's not this year, though, huh?
No.
Man,
so
you're doing me like that, huh?
I'm doing you like that. We'll go over that real quick. So we're not doing it like that. We're going to do the top 50 anglers, from the season. So I'm actually going to get the graphic for that. So the top 50 anglers of the season will get invited. And how that is your best 4 events. So you could, if you fish all 9, you get to drop 3, or drop 5. You could drop 5. So there's that. Lake Ouachita, Arkansas, October 28th, 23 entry fee is free. That's going to be exciting. Like I said, last year, you're right. We did every 1st place, every big fish team in the top 50 anglers. So, and then you got to remember, it's not the top 50 boats, it's the top 50 anglers. So every angler in the boat gets points. A lot of the teams can't, just like Jason couldn't make it. So he didn't get points this weekend. Pops got points. So that's why we do it per angler, because we don't really have any dedicated teams. So it'll start at 200, 199, 198, 197, and so on. and your best 4 points is what you're going to take. So if you only fish 4 tournaments, you skunk in 2 of them, you probably won't get in. So, I mean, the goal is that it's somewhat tough to get in.
Yes,
we want the best of the best.
You have to keep fishing. Sit back the rest of the year. You're qualified. It forces you to fish 3 more events. So that's the reason we did that. But
what other events are you going to fish, or do you have your plan out yet?
So I'm trying to make Fort Madison, but it's my daughter's birthday weekend, so I'm still in the air right there. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but we're definitely, for sure hitting the one on Ohio River. What's that one?
Jeffersonville.
Jeffersonville. All right, and then Cape Girardeau for sure. That's always one of the favorites. And there's a new Madrid on there too, wasn't there?
Yep.
Yeah, New Madrid, of course. I think that's the main ones we're trying to hit. We're trying to hit anything we can in between as they come along, but that's the main ones we kind of look forward to for sure. So we got CR customers and all that stuff.
With the first place, though, that's going to help you big time. I mean, obviously Alton, weighing a fish in at Alton would have been big because we only did 20 boats. So those are good points just catching a fish. You didn't throw some back, did you?
Man, at Alton?
Yeah.
No. Like Alton, it was big fat 0. I'll be the first to ever say this, but big fat 0. And in my home waters, it was.
So if Hamilton, if you're on here, make a comment. But this is a prime example of tournament fishing. You can be good, but being consistent is really tough. So you take what you did, you go to Alton, which is your home water, and you literally skunk, don't catch a fish.
Yep.
Then you go to Truman and
which I've never been to before. I've only been to Tally Bend, and that was back in January just for fun fishing, that's probably an hour away from there. So that was my first time really ever catfishing, on that level at Truman ever. I only been there one time before with Jason just to go there and fill up a freezer full of catfish, just to get some freezer fish, and that's it. So I knew nothing about that area, nothing about any of that, just what I've heard from buddies and stuff and where to go. And with the wind and stuff, we ended up not even going to anywhere anybody suggested. We just went across from the ramp where everybody said wasn't going to catch nothing, and it was crazy.
But you did. And then you take Jason Hamilton. He wins the first tournament and then goes to the next tournament and gets almost last place. He caught fish, got 2 fish, had a decent pre-fishing day, but he caught some slot fish on tournament day, which hurt. But so that's back to tournament fishing. Joe goes to Alton, skunks his home water, goes to Truman, never been the second tournament, wins it. Hamilton goes to Alton, wins it, goes to Truman, gets last place. I mean, it's up and down, but going and doing that changes 18th place. I knew he was going to correct me. 18th. Sorry, Jason, 18th. So he had 18th out of 20th that weighed 18th out of 25, but still, that's what I'm saying is it's fishing. But I think that you learned a lot from the Alton tournament and Truman. So you go to 2024 and you're gonna have a lot of that in your back pocket of the do's and don'ts.
Yeah, absolutely.
The live and learn, as Jake Nally says.
Yeah, and I mean, and listen to your fellow fishermen. That people that are actually, don't be scared to ask people, that are actually catching fish, what kind of area they're fishing. You don't have to ask them for their spot, but say, are you fishing in the trees, or are you fishing shallow? Are you fishing deep? Don't be scared to ask those questions. If they don't want to tell you, then, you might not want to talk to them anyway. But
There was a new angler that told me, he's like, I fished your tournament for the first time, and everybody was awesome. Even the owners of the resorts, Bucksaw came down, and he's like, these guys were all great. Everybody was nice. They were talking. They were grilling out together. Friday night was fun. Everybody hanging out at the restaurant down in the marina. Obviously, it was terribly cold, but that's what it's about. I mean, you enjoy that stuff. I know you do. I see at the tournaments, you enjoy the night before, the 2 nights before, and hanging out with everybody. And then, like I said, that's where you become. Your friend says, "Hey, here's some bait," or helps you out with a little technique or whatever.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of the wild child at the tournaments. I like to have my fun. I like to go around, get everybody riled up and all that stuff. And it for me, it's all about having fun. If I'm not having fun, then there's no sense in doing it.
100%. And that's why we always do the Friday night thing, get together, just like our next tournament's actually on a Sunday. We've always had Fort Madison on a Sunday. And we go to the Eagles. Were you there last year?
Oh yeah, I was the one that
he
won all the money, and that was my very first tournament. I did Alton with you guys, but didn't really hang out with anybody. But that's whenever I actually hung out with everybody and stuff at that Fort Madison, which I'm pretty sure everybody remembers. I was a little post toasty, but I had a lot of fun.
You won a lot of money in the Calcutta, but you also pretty much contributed all of it. So I don't know if it was a
Yeah, I'm not sure how that washed out.
What did you win? Like, was $5,000?
It was I think it was like $3,800. Yeah, Tom Petty. Yeah, Wallace. Yep. Because it was my wife's favorite band is Tom Petty. I'd never even met the fella, and he wasn't even there. And I had to sit there and argue with Mark Farrow for like 2 hours over who was going to win this bet, and I ended up winning it.
Yeah, dude, that's what it was. I remember he wasn't there, but no, that was a good. We'll have a Calcutta for sure. We haven't had a Calcutta yet, and you're like, oh, we're gonna have a Calcutta. We're gonna definitely have a Calcutta at Fort Madison at the Eagles that night. The Cobblestone, our host hotel, is in the same parking lot as the Eagles. There's a Burger King. That's kind of where we all hang out Saturday night. Again, the Cobblestone will be the host hotel there. The Eagles is where we'll have our non-mandatory meeting. And then Saturday, Seth, if you want to talk about the Calvin Meyer Memorial, will be Saturday. So if you want to come pre-fish, you can pre-fish for a good cause for the Calvin Meyer Memorial. Tell us about that.
Hosting a tournament in the next ramp over. We're doing the Willow Patch where we launched last year for the Twisted Cat. It's $150 entry. Fish, I think it's 7 to 3:30 is what it is. Just it's kind of not a bar tournament, but it's a lot more low key than Twisted Cat. We put it on. There's a guy from our area that passed away several years ago, and his wife started a memorial tournament in his name, and now she's come down. She's got cancer now, so I'm kind of taking over for that and holding a tournament for them. So yeah, like I said, it's Saturday, Willow Patch. Come in the morning, sign up. There's no pre-registration or anything, and $150, and we'll go out and have a good time. If anybody's interested in that, get a hold of me.
Yeah, it'll be a big weekend of fishing. Like I said, Saturday the Calvin Meyer Memorial, then Sunday the Twisted Cat. So 2 tournaments back to back in the same town. And then the Eagles is fun. They do those big Iowa tenderloins that everybody loves, the big fried tenderloins. I think everybody there had a tenderloin. So the Eagles are excited to have us back, and pretty sweet. Yeah, Jason. Yeah, it is the day before. Absolutely. Hopefully, we got good weather though. We are due for some good weather. I'm scared to look. I don't even like to look anymore.
Yeah. Last year it was snowing there. Well, I woke up that morning and it was snowing. I had my canopy on my boat and like, are you kidding me? Or is it really snowing right now? Yeah.
Yeah, the year before that was even worse, Joe. You missed that one. We had a boat sink, and it was wild.
Wally said Iowa tenderloins are the best. So, have you had a tenderloin before, Joe?
Oh, heck, what do you mean have I had a tenderloin? I'm a country boy.
So when I started driving a truck like 13 years ago, my first route was down to southern Missouri. So I went down there and it was a double overnight. So I remember I was looking for I was just craving tenderloin. So I
Right.
was looking around and I was asking some of the places I delivered to, and they were looked at me like I was an alien.
That's
So
crazy.
I didn't realize it was like more of a northern thing. And then Iowa's kind of the state that's really known for them.
Huh. I owned a restaurant right here in Cedar Hill for about 2 years, which was the worst thing I ever done. But yeah, we had nice tenderloins there. Yeah. I thought it was a southern thing. I really didn't know it was that much of a northern thing.
I went to a restaurant in Florida. I lived in Florida for 2 years and went there and ordered one, and it was like a steak. I don't know what in the world was going on. It wasn't
Right.
a lot more expensive than what it should have been too.
Oh man, that's funny. Dylan Lawson said anything above 20 degrees would be great. So yeah, Dylan even came down from Muscatine, Iowa, Bluegrass, Iowa. So he had a long drive. We had anglers in the 25 teams. I don't know if you noticed or not, but maybe 2 or 3 teams were local. We had a team from Eufaula, Oklahoma, up by Bluegrass, Northern Illinois, Central Illinois. I mean, just all over the place. And still had a good weigh-in. I mean, pretty impressive.
Yeah, definitely was one of the more impressive weigh-ins. I really didn't think it would go that far, but it was a really impressive weigh-in.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited about Fort Madison. I just got off the phone a little bit. Right when you jumped on, I was on the phone with Mike Manny at Dave's Marine. And Mike's he's not he's the guy that I bought my first Sea Arc from and second Sea Arc from, and then has always kind of pushed and helped Twisted Cat along the way. And that's kind of why we always do the Sunday Fort Madison, because Dave's Marine's open on Saturday till noon. So we just, after the first year, we just kept going to Sunday. But he is going to do, so we've got the Dave's Marine Sea Arc. So if you have a Sea Arc boat, you're going to get a ticket. And we're going to draw a random $250 Sea Arc ticket. Then you're going to get, if you bought your boat or engine from Dave's Marine, we're going to draw a random on that for $500 gift certificate from the store, which is awesome. And then we're going to draw another random for $300 entry to a Twisted Cat Outdoors event. So that's awesome.
That's
a lot.
Makes me want to fish the tournament.
Yeah, I know, right?
Nice boat.
That's some good odds. A free entry, $500 gift certificate, and then $250 for just having a Sea Arc. So that's awesome. So huge shout out to Mike and family at Dave's Marine. That's awesome. So we got a lot of cool things at Fort Madison. Like I said, the Cobblestone is going to be the host. I seen somebody asked how many boats. I think we have 26 teams registered right now.
That's always
the Eagles, the Cobblestone is together. And then Saturday you've got, if you want to pre-fish in a tournament for a good cause, the Calvin Meyer Memorial Tournament. All the good stuff Dave's Marine's doing. It's going to be a good event. It's the third event of the year, 3 out of 9. And the points, we'll have the points up hopefully we will. I'll make sure they're up this week. Somebody asked who's in the top, and I want to say it's going to be close. There's going to be a couple anglers. It's going to be really close. Fort Madison's going to change some things, I think. So we'll see how people do in Fort Madison. Scott said, thanks, Mike. But yeah, so Fort Madison's going to really start to see where people are going to fall in line on the points. And again, the more anglers that are starting to fish this series, it's going to be harder to get in them top 4. But Joe, you got 200 points this past weekend. That's got to feel good, man.
It does. It feels real good. I'm very hopeful. I made it last year. I'm hopeful to do a little bit better this year.
So what did you? So last year you made it. It was pretty much your first tournament season
ever.
And you had I would say, I'm going to go out on a limb and say you had a blast last year.
I did. I really did. It was, there was several times last year that I was in second, third place that I was hanging in there, and just to see that as a new fisherman in this series and stuff was pretty exciting. And then finish out I feel like that's a pretty good achievement. And this year I hope to achieve better than that.
So what was your thoughts on the championship? You got in, did you like how it was kind of, a small group of anglers that got invited, but it was a really good group. I mean, we had 22 teams last year, and that was 22 stud teams.
It really was. It's all the best of the people throughout the series. It was something whenever you wake up that morning, you're nervous. Like, all right, I got to really try to do something today. I got to try to impress some of these guys and, make my way into here. And it was a little bit nerve wracking for sure, being in the championship and being first year and I got to come in with at least one big fish, and it worked out pretty good. We ended up with 10th place on that championship as well. So
that's an awesome finish.
A lot of people might already know this, or maybe we've talked about it. But where did you start, Joe? When did you start targeting big catfish?
Really, I started with my buddy Jason Smith, my partner Jason Smith. He had went out and started doing it down there. He got a house at Lake of the Ozarks and started targeting them. And so I went down and we'd go down and we'd fun fish every few weekends or so, and getting more and more into it, and had done a couple small Central Missouri tournaments and stuff, and then after that I had found out about show me catfishing, and so well, this stuff happens right here at home. I gotta check this out. I love catfishing, so we ended up booking a trip with Ryan Casey and heading out with Show Me, and the fish that we had caught that day on the Missouri and Mississippi River I was just blown away. Like, all right, now this is something I got to get into. I've always been one of those people that, coyote hunting or deer hunting or anything I do, I go full bore. It's not just like I'm just going to ease my way into it. I'm going to go full bore and I'm holding that throttle all the way to the max, and let's just do this.
Same way.
And yeah, so I did a bunch of trips with Ryan and Tyler Moses and Mark Farrow, all the Show Me guys, and kept on doing trips with them until I could start trying to figure out stuff on my own. And they kind of helped bring me to where I'm at today. Jason, Show Me Catfishing, is who helped me get to where I'm at.
So how long would you say you started?
I would say about 2 years.
So 2 years
serious. I've been catfishing since I was a little kid.
Right.
Since 5 years old or so, I've been nothing but on the river, bank poles, all that stuff. But I had never caught anything over 15 pounds until about 2 years ago.
That's a pretty short learning curve there. You went 2 years ago, not really caring to tournaments.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
2 years, I said, all right, let's do this. This is my niche. Let's figure this out.
Heck yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, here's let's share this one. So that's you last year at the championship. So what that way?
Man, I honestly can't remember. I think that one was 60 something. 67, I'm thinking.
That's a stud.
So that was your what do you say? What is it? 10th place finish?
That was my 10th place finish there. Yep.
at the championship, year
At the
one.
championship. Yep.
You have
Year
to be pumped about that. You've had a great 2 years.
Oh
Solid.
man, it's been good. And I expect it to go nowhere but up from here, I hope. And you guys always get the best photos of my faces again, you know.
I'm telling you.
I don't know why
Like he's
Tom
biting
always,
down on your hand.
yeah, Tom always seems to like, hey, let me get this picture of Joe's face like this.
You guys see how good the championship was last year, though. You've probably got, what, 72, 73 pounds there and got 10th place.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
we ended
what
up
did you
with
think of that?
77-ish, something like that.
Did you think that you would ever have got with that? Did you think there's no way you'll be out of 10th place?
Yeah, I didn't think we'd get 10th place at all, even with that weight.
Really?
Yeah,
I never expected. I mean, what Charles and Doug they won it. They had a crazy weight, and then they had a 90. So 22 teams in Cape in October, 2 fish over 90 pounds.
And Mike Mitchell got another freaking monster.
Yeah, I mean, fishing with those guys, that's like dreams come true right there, you know. I mean, that's like fishing with Albert Pujols and all them, you know.
Right.
That's the heavy hitters of the league. Like, if I can even come close to these guys, I'm doing a little bit of something good.
Yep. Yeah, I got a picture of that. It was just a crazy way, and I mean, here's 3rd place. Hamilton, Berglund, and Henney right there.
Right.
I mean, it was one of those that you just, I mean, awesome, you know. And then the water was low, so the biggest fish that Twisted Cats weighed in now is 103 in the Alton area, but last year weighed 3 fish over 90 pounds. You think low water has something to do with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to put them into a smaller area. You know, you're going to find more areas to target where the bigger fish are hanging out versus, you know, where they can spread out and do their thing. You know, if the home's only so big, you gotta share the house with a few more people.
Yep. Dylan said Fort Madison is a blast for fishing and also for surfing them wind waves. Yeah, it's, and like Seth said, I don't know that Montrose is the widest part. It might be, but I'm telling you, that's probably why it gets so rough out there.
Yeah, you come around that corner in front of Nauvoo and it turns into a different animal. I mean, you can have calm water, then you hit that corner at 50 miles an hour, and all of a sudden you're in 4-foot waves, and it gets wild. It gets pretty western out there.
And then last year we had so we went out pre-fishing there at Fort Madison, and we went out of the ramp down to the right towards the dam. And then there's that big island. Well, on my map card, which everybody don't believe your map card, that map card showed that was deep water going around to that left side of that island there. And I'm like, oh, that could be good. I got in there and it was a half a foot deep. I had to raise my jack plate, trim the motor up, and keep that thing floored to get out of there. And I'm telling you right now, I about pooped my pants. It was crazy.
I'll tell you, Onyx up in our area is not great. They don't come survey it very often, but it silts in so much because there's no current. You get high water and it silts in everything, and everything changes constantly up there. So, and it's a lot of shallow water.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is going to be such a good area pulling in, looking at the Navionics. And next thing I know, I'm like, uh-oh, my front of my boat is in sand. Is it time to floor this thing?
You'll have a lot of that.
Yeah, Wally said, I believe somebody got beached there last year.
It was probably Wally.
Yeah, speaking of that shallow water, let's go back to last year.
Yeah, Cape Girardeau.
This is Cape Girardeau, and I've been going there for a lot of years now. And this is a great picture Tom took just to show you we couldn't even use the ramp in Cape. This is what we dealt with. And that's just crazy, crazy little water. You can see the barge coming down. But we had to go. Charles Blair had a buddy in town. It was about 15 minutes away. We had to go get this John boat that had the plug was messed up.
We had to epoxy the plug shut because it wouldn't fit.
Yeah, we had to epoxy the plug shut. I had to ratchet strap the trailer to the hitch of my truck because it was messed up. We finally got it down there. Then we had to go get rope and back the fish down, put the fish in the boat to the sandbar, and then Seth took them from the one side of the sandbar to the other just so they could get in some good, clean, fresh water.
I tell you what,
and it'd be nothing. 22 boats. This will be nothing. And we had 22 boats and weighed, like I said, 2 over 90. It was an insane weigh-in. So Seth carried like 13,000 pounds.
Right.
Not 13,000, but you carried a lot of weight across there to that sandbar, which is just insane.
I don't know what it was. That sandbar does not nearly as wide in that photo as what it really was.
Right. It seemed like it looked wider that day for sure. Especially when I pulled in and I had no water in my live well. And I'm like, hey, fellas, my plug came out. I am super sorry, but can I get to the front of the line real quick? I got a couple good fish. And that's a big thanks to the Twisted Cat family, that, being able to pull in like that and be 20 trailers out and have to run to everybody and say, hey, my water is out of my live well for over the past 30 minutes of this drive. Can I scoot in front of you to get these fish to a secure location, get them weighed in and get them back in the river alive? And, everybody made that happen. And that's huge props to the guys of the Twisted Cat Outdoors series, to let that happen.
We got a pretty good group of guys that fish, and most of them, all of them really, really care about fish care and fish health and stuff. So they're going to let you up, in that situation regardless.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
So you got anything else to add before we call it a night, Joe?
Well, I want to thank Dustin Burrows with Truman Lake Marine and Power Sports. Catch the Fever. I want to thank Tombstone Tackle, Lakeview Boating Center and Marine. Am I missing anybody here?
Look at that shirt.
Oh, Americat Bates, Andy. Sorry,
Andy.
But,
Andy, forget him.
Man, he never watches any of this stuff. He'll never even know.
He does. You'd be surprised.
I hope he does. That way he knows I'm throwing him out there.
You're Shad from Donald and Alton, and then you're getting Shad from Jason.
Hey,
what's going on with that?
Well, it's whenever I get to Alabama and stuff that it really counts,
Right. Oh, yeah.
Then I can keep on fishing and not have to worry about bait.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I just, like to thank everybody that makes this stuff happen. Alex, you throw on an incredible series. The Twisted Cat Outdoors family, I don't want to say series because it's more of a family than it is a series. Once you get in there, you're talking to everybody all the time, and it's like a whole new big family. It really is a cool series.
Yeah, it's grown a lot, and it's fun. This is number 9 year for me, which is crazy. Rhett just had his. Yeah, that's right, because Rhett just had his 9th birthday. So my first tournament, I always tell a story, but I remember I woke up a little late, which is extremely, when I say extremely, extremely rare. But I woke up a little late, and I drove from my house to Columbia Bottoms, first tournament, and it was about a 3-hour drive, almost late, not crazy late, but I was there by myself. I had a laundry basket, an old bathroom scale, a notebook, and then that aluminum bucket. And from that day to now, it's just crazy because Rhett was in the belly of that tournament.
Right.
And now he might be emceeing the next tournament. So,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
He's going to be taking your position here pretty soon. Like, move out of the way, Dad.
We got a mic last year. We need to do that again.
Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, you never know. We gotta figure out who we're gonna have on next Monday. But the Monday after, Joe, you could be back on if you come to Fort Madison.
It could be possible. I doubt it though.
You literally said that last time.
I
You
know.
said there's no way.
That's why I had to do it again. Got to keep up with the same faith.
Yeah.
I'm
So you had a good.
I'm all about having fun and not winning. So if it happens, it happens.
But I also want to thank Castaway Customs, CDEC. They're doing $500 big fish every tournament. So this past tournament, I said it at the event. It was $7,500 in entries that paid back plus the $500 big fish. It was 106% payback. So again, that's huge. Thanks to the sponsors. That's why we're paying 106% back, which is crazy good. And that's why the $35,000 no entry fee championship. And like I said, if you still have questions about how to be a part of that, how to get in it, it's the points. We'll continue to go over that throughout the season. You don't want to miss. If you missed it because it was too cold last weekend, you better come to Fort Madison and start getting those points. Yeah. So number 3, back to the cold, Sunday, April 2nd. But after then, we're going way down south to Jeffersonville, Indiana, right across the river from Louisville, Kentucky, the Ohio River. And 2 years ago, we went there. I didn't think we'd have much of a weigh-in, and I was blown away. That was a crazy good weigh-in. And you talked about that. You like that slower current, that slow bumping, and you did well there, right?
Who are you talking to?
Oh, I guess that was somebody said that they loved Jefferson. That wasn't you?
No. Last year was my first year, so I haven't been there yet.
I don't know who that was.
But I'm hoping I do as good as whoever that was.
I hope so. I do.
Yeah.
Oh my, that's funny.
Joe, you ought to go back and look at the pictures from the weigh-in. That was an insane.
Really?
Yeah. Huge fish.
I've always heard Ohio River is pretty decent, so I'm pretty excited about it. I just
remembered. It was Greg Twillman. He said he's going back. He fished it with Brad Shoemate. And they had I think they got 7th, and they had 3 good blues. Big fish that tournament was like 89 pounds. So May on the Ohio River is a good event.
For sure.
Yeah.
But by then you might have 2 first place finishes and a skunk.
Right.
That's a good start.
And then that Wachita, is that what it's called? Wachita? Lake Wachita?
Lake Wachita.
Yeah.
Wachita. I saw some pretty interesting things about that today. They actually have freshwater jellyfish, freshwater shrimp, and some alligators along the river.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
That's pretty crazy right there.
Yeah, cast net up some jellyfish.
Yeah. No, I'm going for the shrimp.
Trying to pull up a picture. It's a beautiful lake.
It is.
Yeah. So they said that's the only lake and it's the biggest lake in Arkansas, but it's the only lake they don't let people build a house on the shoreline for over 600 miles.
Yeah.
And there's over 200 islands that if you can pull your boat up to it, you can camp on it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, here's some pictures of that lake.
Yeah, that's crazy.
JT says lots of grass.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
If you dig really, really deep, you can find some people catfishing it and catching some really big blues. Look at that right there. That's a beautiful picture. So it's, like I said, it's a cool place. I'm excited. Nobody that I know of has really put on a catfish tournament there. And especially now, we're going to be taking the best of the Twisted Cat Outdoors series to Lake Wachita. It took me 6 months to figure out how to pronounce it, but I've got it down now.
You just asked me, Alex. I've fished down there before.
I've been to Lake Hamilton, which is a little bit south of there, and that was a really cool lake. And it wasn't Jason Hamilton Lake either.
Wasn't Jason Hamilton Lake?
No.
That's a cool picture.
Yeah, that is.
So yeah, no, that's
lot of water
exciting.
to fish.
A lot of water to fish, clear water, big water, deep water, grass, trees, everything. But there's going to be some big fish weighed in, especially October. I've had several different anglers and even some DNR say that that's the next world record coming out of that lake.
Yeah,
Really?
I think. And
Joe,
so,
it's your year, man. It could be you.
So I
World
looked
record, change it to Joe world record.
I looked at their what their records were on catfishing today. And so I think they have a typo on their page. I'm not sure. Someone needs to tell me. But it says that a world record bullhead catfish was caught at 113 pounds. Bullhead catfish, I don't think get over like 6 to 7 pounds.
No, yeah.
It could be a different species of bullhead catfish.
They had flathead, they had blue, they had channel, and then they had bullhead, which said even their description said bullhead, small fish that doesn't generally get over this, but on their page it says 113-pound bullhead was caught out there, and
what's it say for the blue cat?
38-pound channel cat was their world record, which someone just said right there. Yep. So that was the Arkansas record channel cat, but there's also a 113-pound, what they say is bullhead. And
what's the blue cat?
I'm still trying to figure that out. The blue cat I saw was 103 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, and they said it's been getting better and better every year. I was trying to look up, and
Decimal was in the wrong spot.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering too.
There was a math error by the Arkansas DNR.
It's hard to believe that it's not a destination if it's got fish out of it like that. But
man,
you take Arkansas, you take that part of Arkansas. What are most people fishing for?
Bass, for sure.
Stripers.
Oh, that's an awesome striper lake. And JT just said 50-pound plus striper. We've had some people from up here go down there and striper fish. I mean, that's
the
I'm excited.
striper.
Even there's 2 resorts that I know of down there that I'm working on for like kind of being the host for the event. I'm excited. It's this plane. Actually, the plane picture here is out of one of the resorts that they fly, and they actually take you on little trips right there.
That's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Maybe I'm going to fly around while you guys are fishing and mark your spots.
Right.
And it's in deep water. Did you read about the deep water?
Yeah, up to 200 foot deep.
Holy cow.
That's deep.
A lot of 50 foot, Yeah, it's going to be another one like, I heard it's a little bit like Truman and spots. A little bit like Lake of the Ozarks and spots. You got your trees, you got your fence rows, you got a little bit of everything in that water there.
Yeah, I'm excited. Really am. It's gonna be a good one. Well, hey, thanks again for being on the show. We're 6th. I don't know. I gotta start writing it down. Is this the 6th one, Seth?
I think it's number 5.
5th, probably.
5 or 6. I'm already getting ahead of myself. So number 5, which is still pretty. I don't know. I'm gonna have to count that up, but still is a good show. They're getting better, trying to bring some value to the anglers, and my goal is here soon. We got Starlink coming, Starlink Roam. So I want to start doing some of these plus some stuff when we don't have a tournament on a weekend. Maybe we'll meet up like in the St. Louis area or somewhere. We'll do this format, but we'll both be on a boat and we'll be fishing while we're talking.
That'd be cool.
And then we can bet again.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
So lots of cool things, just trying to get this format going and really kind of grow on it. So really excited about that too. So hopefully you'll be on the show more. Hopefully, I mean, if not in 2 weeks, hopefully soon, and maybe we're fishing against each other on the water when we're doing it. So really excited about that. But thanks again for sharing. And I didn't even realize it. That was your first event last year in Fort Madison or the alt. You know what I mean? And now you're like family, man. You're at all the events and you've done very well too. Very well.
So I try not to miss many. You know, it's too good of a time to miss them.
Yeah. And like you said, if you're not having fun, I mean, you got to have fun while you're doing stuff. And that's our goal at these events is have fun and bring the family and catch some fish and hang out, learn from each other and all that. So, well, awesome. Well, thanks. And again, our next event, Sunday, April 2nd in Fort Madison, Iowa. Dave's Marine's got a bunch of stuff like we just talked about. If you want to register, you can register on twistedcatoutdoors.com. Shoot us a message. We cannot wait to see you in Fort Madison. Again, we'll be at the Eagles Saturday night from 5 till ? They'll be open till 1 o'clock in the morning. It's right next to the hotel. So once you get there, you can park. We'll hang out, eat big Iowa tenderloins, do a Calcutta. Hopefully Joe doesn't win all the money again. And we'll have the merch for sale and all that stuff. So look forward to seeing everybody. And Dusty asked, designated boat ramps at Fort Madison or trailering allowed? Great question. How we're going to do Fort Madison is we're going to use the Willow Patch boat ramp. Okay. We're going to check our first boat at 5 a.m. So at 5 a.m., the first boat in line, we're going to check. You can put your boat in, then you're free to go. You can start fishing at 7, quit fishing at 3, be back in the weigh-in line, which will be down at the fort by 4:30. So it gives you some time to move a little bit to a fishing spot, and then it gives you time to quit fishing, get back to the ramp, get to the weigh-in line. That's how we're doing things this year to get you anglers more time on the water. So we're not trying to get 65, 70 boats in by 7:30 and take off and losing all that time. So that's how we're doing it. Again, we got anglers that we checked our live wells at 8 o'clock, don't we, Seth?
Oh, yeah.
They sleep in, they're in no hurry, and that's fine too. And some of them do well. I don't know if it's because they finally got more sleep or what, but and that's, like I said, that's fine too. So that's how we're going to do that. Good question, Dusty. I appreciate that. Thanks, Kevin. He said another great show. We're just trying to bring some value to everybody watching and have some fun and have new people on. And even though Joe might be on 3 times in a month, but
hang on a second. Hang on. Let me do something here. Oh, baby. What?
Dude, that's good. You know what? Let me ask you this, honestly. For you, what's going to be more memorable? The money that you won or those plaques right there?
Those plaques right there. I don't care about the money. And honestly, 100%. Just fishing with Pops is probably going to be the most, memorable thing for him to, man, I'm telling you right now, at 8 a.m, if you couldn't have heard us over there at the hotel, then you weren't outside because we were screaming so loud. We're like, yeah, it was insane. It was awesome.
But that's what it's about. So many anglers have told me that. And as an angler myself, that's the money I forget about what I spent it on. It was probably something stupid, but the plaques on the wall, and just like when I finally kind of started putting my trophies and plaques on a bookshelf deal. And then my son last year, I noticed he brought some of his little basketball trophies and stuff and put them next to mine. And that was surreal. And that's the stuff that you will always remember. I can look at each plaque or trophy that I won and say, I remember when I fished this tournament on the Red River in Louisiana, where I was fishing, how I was fishing, but the money, I have no clue how much I won or what I did with it. But the plaques, that lasts a lifetime. For sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As you can see, my bragging wall here, all the white.
That's a good. I was gonna say that you got a nice bragging wall.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff up back there. I was gonna do the Sea Arc boat, but it was really dirty today, so I'll just do it inside.
Well, good. Well, thanks again. both of you for being on the show, and awesome show again. And we'll see everybody next Monday evening, 7:00. We'll post who's going to be on the show with us. And if you have any questions about any of the events, any Twisted Cat related stuff, shoot us a message. Check out the website, and have a good rest of your week.
All right.
See you, fellas.